Am I the asshole for telling my wife I'm not okay with her naming our daughter with her sister instead of me?
My wife, 26 female, is pregnant with our first child. She did a test to determine the sex of the baby early in her pregnancy, first trimester, and we found out we were going to be parents to a little girl.
Really quickly we decided our daughter was going to be named Adora.
The name holds special meaning to us.
She was always a huge fan of She-Ra and loved the Og show and the remake. We actually bonded over the remake show.
I, 27 male, thought it was a sweet name and loved that it had a deeper personal connection for the two of us. The middle name was still not entirely set in stone, but the first name was. My wife is now 6 months pregnant and her twin sister is expecting a baby boy 3 months after our daughter is due. 3 weeks ago they started talking about baby names, and all of a sudden my wife told me that she and her sister decided the babies should have timeless names that fit with their family names. Emily and Elizabeth, James and Haley, their parents, William, Hannah and Grace, their siblings.
So my wife and her sister chose the name Catherine for our daughter instead, and Syl's son will be Alexander. I was hurt and more than a little peeved.
My wife asked me why I had that expression on my face, and I told her I was not okay with her naming our daughter with her sister instead of me.
I told her we had chosen the name Adora. She never expressed second thoughts about the name. We were just working on a middle name. I told her I was supposed to be the baby's other parent, not her sister, yet she takes her sister's opinion on board and decides they'll name the child we're having together. I told her I had not expected that from her. Then I thought she truly respected me and was excited to be on this journey together. She asked me if I was really that upset about it, and I said yes. I told her I wouldn't lie and say I was okay with it. I told her she basically cut me out of the process in the end if she were to go ahead with this.
My wife has been quiet since this. Her sister was furious with me for telling my wife I wasn't okay with it.
She told me I should respect their twinness and I got to make all other decisions with my wife, so why was I being such an asshole about this? She told me to get over myself and then she accused me of acting like a child. Am I the asshole? Why can't it be Adora Catherine?
You said you hadn't settled on a middle name. Not the asshole for speaking up about this, and you totally need to be able to discuss your own child's name. It really is none of her sister's business, but you can see how they think it would be cute to have matching names being twins. But you are the father, and she is being unreasonable to not see how this would impact you.
Not the asshole.
By some odd twist of time, does the twin sister happen to be a 4-year-old child? Because that's about how mature she's acting.
Not that your wife is being any level of mature herself.
Parenting decisions are to be made by the parents, not unilaterally, and not with one's womb mate.
Not the asshole. She told me I should respect their twinness and I got to make all other decisions with my wife, so why was I being such an asshole about this?
That attitude isn't going to get better after the babies are born.
Not the asshole.
If they want to go with joined twinsies names, why can't sister-in-law name her son Adam, since that is He-Man's real name and he and She-Ra are twins?
Or, if she dislikes Adora now, that is fine. But you should certainly be involved in the new choice then. Not the asshole.
Deep, but definitely have a discussion going forward about boundaries with sister, cause I guarantee, judging by the sounds of things, that you in fact will not get to make all other decisions without interference in future.
Sorry, to clarify, I mean a conversation with your wife regarding boundaries for the sister.
This sub has been such an eye-opener.
I literally cannot believe the jaw-dropping entitlement and lack of awareness I read about on here, sometimes tears of joy.
As to your problem, where are your wife's and Syl's heads at?
Seriously. Like, not even a temperature check with you first? Maybe you could pass it off as a case of pregnancy brain, I dunno. Weird. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole if I don't help a relative because they wasted their money buying a house for $2.8 million?
I, M40, have a blended family and a cousin, M34, on my step-parents' side who used to be close to me. However, due to him moving abroad and conflicts over an inheritance, we no longer talk these days.
Recently, I've been receiving calls from various local and overseas relatives asking for financial help for my cousin. He has defaulted on his house payments and is more than 6 months behind on mortgage and loan repayments because his wife, native Chinese, convinced him to buy a house in Shanghai.
He, ABC, by the way, had a good job in what should have been a stable company, but the virus feed them hard, and he has never recovered.
Apparently, it seems he got laid off 8 months ago.
When we were still talking, and he told me that he was going to buy this ludicrously expensive 2.8 million RMB house, about 400,000 United States dollars, that was basically a concrete box. I told him he was insane and would regret it for many reasons, but particularly because he would never actually own the place due to Chinese laws. Now, 4 years later, he still owes nearly 2 million RMB on his mortgage since his payments have only been covering the interest, and near an additional 1 million RMB in loans for the decorations used to make that naked concrete box a place you can live in.
I am a teacher in the US, and I don't earn enough money to own my own damn house, so how am I supposed to give someone else money to pay off theirs when I warned them this would come back to bite them hard? In the Chinese real estate market, you are always just one bad day or one conman away from losing 3 generations of savings. This house was so expensive, for him, that it took up 70% of his monthly income just to pay the interest on the mortgage. Now, I am being harassed for his stupidity to help him out of this hole because I let on that I had a decent savings account. It's not house money, but I want to buy a new car. Something nice for once and not just new to me. Even my biological family is giving me grief about this. But I don't want to help. Will I be the asshole if I don't help them?
Edit. Thanks for the comments and reassurance. Asian family guilt is a crazy WMD on its own. Yay, so they are trying to get everyone to donate to cousin.
All of this is because one auntie overheard me talking about getting a new car and they all started circling like vultures, and the guilt has been raining for days. Don't help them? Block them. You couldn't help even if you wanted to. Helping or not helping isn't even a question for you. Any money you may be able to scrape together to send them will be like it's going into a black hole. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, and don't give them a penny. I'm Chinese and I'm familiar with these customs. These people are always looking for family handouts and won't stop if you don't nip this in the bud. I have family in China that I've never even met and they've badgered us for years for money. The final straw was when my dad flew some of them over to the US to attend my wedding and they had the nerve to ask him for $20,000 while living here under his roof as guests. Not the asshole. You warned him about the risks involved in buying such an expensive house, and he chose not to listen to your advice. It's not your responsibility to bail him out of a financial situation that he created for himself. Not the asshole. Someone needs to learn the harsh consequences of their actions. Your family would crowdfund amongst themselves to help him out, but they won't. Says more about them. You worked your backside off and deserve something for yourself. Don't give it to someone who makes rash decisions and screws themselves over. Not the asshole. You are not an asshole for not funding someone's poor financial decisions. It will only delay the foreclosure, not stop it. Am I the asshole for not following my neighborhood's tradition? I, F25, have just moved into a neighborhood a couple weeks ago and so far it has been very peaceful. From the neighbors that have came up to me, everyone has been very friendly and welcoming, which I really appreciate since I'm not from around the town. I have noticed that some neighbors have been having frequent parties the last couple of weeks, but I chalked it up to it being celebrations since I know one neighbor's daughter just graduated high school, and July 4th is coming up. I have been to some of these parties to get to know the other neighbors better, and one person who really stands out to me is this one neighbor, Melinda. Not her actual name. At a neighbor's party she came up to me and introduced herself and we talked for a while. This is when I learned about the newest neighbor party. Apparently, the newest neighbor is supposed to throw a grand party showing off their home and entertain the neighborhood as a whole thing. Melinda told me since I was the newest neighbor, it was my duty to. Thought Melinda was joking when she told me this, as it didn't make sense to me, and I laughed. This seemed to have made Melinda a little angry, as she said she was serious and it was a tradition in the neighborhood and that I had 2 weeks to host a party. This was 2 weeks ago. Yesterday was the day I was supposed to do this tradition, but I happily stayed in bed. Melinda and a couple neighbors came and rang on the doorbell, but I ignored them and enjoyed binge-watching childhood shows. I decided to go outside today and Melinda came up to me furious, saying that I didn't do the tradition and that I was being a bad neighbor. The thing is, however, I asked some other people about this tradition, and they have heard some people do it, but mostly never really mentioned it to be a recurring thing that each new person in the neighborhood should do. I told Melinda that I wouldn't be throwing a party anytime soon as I didn't feel comfortable with the thought of people coming into my home, let alone me having to entertain them. Melinda got angry, saying that the neighborhood is like a big family, and stormed off. I let it go, but the neighbors that were with Melinda at my house that night have been telling me I should have just did the party and that I'm leaving a bad impression. I think my reason is justified, but I'm not really sure.
So am I the asshole? Thank you for all the comments and suggestions.
I also see where I could have told Melinda that I wasn't comfortable, but from the 1 to 2 interactions I've had with her, it sounds like she wouldn't have cared regardless, but I don't want to assume.
A lot of suggestions were very insightful and funny. After I posted this, I went to sleep, and decided to go out today. I didn't bump into Melinda or any of her friends, so I'm not sure about her. However, some neighbors have offered to help me continue to move in by bringing boxes in. One of these neighbors, John, not real name, has been living here for a while. And he told me he's not fond of Melinda, and from what he has seen, some neighbors just try to avoid her or put up with her for the sake of it. Someone messaged me asking how moving in was going, and it has been going good, but hopefully my mattress comes in soon so I can stop sleeping on the couch. It's rough. If anything crazy happens or if Melinda comes up to me, I'll let you all know.
But that's really it for now since it's only been a new day. Not the asshole. Look, I love a neighborhood with a good, friendly community.
It really helps make the world a better place when people are kind to each other and help out.
But some people, like Melinda, take it way too far.
A person should host a party and open their home because they want to, not because they've been voluntold to do so.
Absolutely not the asshole. I've never heard of a tradition like this, and I think it's ridiculous they're getting so upset over it.
Whilst it's always great to have a friendly relationship with neighbors, there's no law that says you have to host parties.
I'd stay clear of Melinda. My gut feeling is she's a troublemaker. Not the asshole. Trying to force someone to have a party that they're not comfortable having in their own home is rude AF.
Ignore her and the other ones trying to pressure you. None of them matter. It's not your job to do as they say, and you don't have to impress anyone, least of all them.
I would get security cameras, if I were you, the kind that you control with your phone so you can see who's at your door and around your whole house. Hopefully, you won't have to call the cops on her.
Enjoy your new home.
Not the asshole. Melinda needs to stop partying, it's interfering with her touch on reality. And but this is ridiculous.
There are places like this? It's not a sitcom? 'Cause I bought my house several years ago and still haven't met my neighbors.
I recognize every dog in their general neighborhood, but I wouldn't recognize them without their dog or outside of their car-to-door travels. Anyway, no, you don't need to do anything like throw a party. But neighborhood bullying isn't supposed to be tolerated either, right?
Y'all need to stop with the whole outsiders, West Side Story nonsense going on here. If the neighborhood is like a family, then the home is like the bedroom. If you do not have permission to enter, then you should not enter.
And locking the door is also allowed in this family scenario. No is an answer.
Not the asshole. I would laugh in her face and tell her that in 2 weeks, I wouldn't even have my furniture arranged. No way I would be hosting a party. So, they showed up at your house without any sort of invitation or confirmation from you that you were hosting a party? They are It sounds to me like her party tradition is an excuse to get in your house and see what you have so she can come, borrow stuff from you, because after all, the neighborhood is a big family.
But I'm a suspicious, cynical sort.
This is a big no.
I have been friendly with my neighbors for over 15 years. I've never been inside their houses, and they have never been in mine. We know phone numbers so we can contact each other if something seems odd in the area, but we don't insist each other host parties. Am I the asshole for asking my husband to hold his pee during flight with 2 kids? My husband and I flew a 3.5 hours flight with our 3-month-old and 2.5-year-old recently. We were unable to buy seats together, so I was in the middle aisle with baby and he was across the aisle of me with the aisle seat and the toddler in the middle. About an hour into the flight, my husband gets up to pee while I'm nursing baby, and as soon as he leaves, the toddler crawls over to me. I try to get the toddler to sit on my lap, but he causes baby to stop eating, so baby is crying on me while I'm trying to hold the toddler and not disrupt the 2 people I'm sitting next to. Plus, my husband got stuck behind the beverage cart so he could grab the toddler for 20 minutes. Later, my husband gets up to pee again while I'm feeding baby, and same thing happens of trying to feed baby with a toddler on my lap. Ending up with a crying baby and a toddler in one middle seat. Backstory: my husband pees a lot.
I've worked with a pelvic floor therapist and told her how frequently he pees, and she agrees it's too much and he should work with PT to avoid issues down the road.
He says he doesn't need help and blames it on drinking lots of water.
He does work a full-time job in an office and does go hours without peeing when he has back-to-back calls, so he's capable of holding it.
He's never peed himself or had an accident. He did go to the urologist this year, who ruled out any prostate or cancer.
After the flight, I told my husband how hard it was to balance both boys and asked if he can just hold his pee. So many times I have to pee when I'm watching the boys, but hold it until timing is better. He said he can't.
Next, I asked if he could ask me before he pees and go when baby isn't nursing and I have 2 hands.
He said no, and he should be able to pee when he has to go.
We have a full summer of flying ahead of us, including a few international trips, and I'm worried. Edit: he gets annual physicals and is extremely healthy. No diabetes and all labs are WNL. He does ultra-marathons and has never peed on himself during a long run. I only mentioned the PT because of a conversation we had. She said if you pee excessively, even if just out of habit, it can lead to problems down the road, and recommended peeing only every 3-4 hours. Nah. Every time he goes to the bathroom, wait until he gets back and then go to the bathroom yourself. This means he gets his needs met, as he needs to pee so urgently, and you get your needs met by having 10 minutes to breath after having the stress of managing both. Not the asshole. Obviously, if he has an issue, YWBTA to ask him not to pee at all for 3.5+ hours. But if he can't hold it at least for a little while, till you finish nursing, tell him to wear a nappy and pee himself like the other 2 babies you're expected to care for do. Or at least fork out for seats together so you can put your toddler beside you while you're having to nurse. Totally unfair to put both kids on you in one seat. And totally unfair to the other passengers. This kind of behavior is why people glare when they see babies on flights. 'Cause while there's good parents who try to do everything they can to keep their kids calm, then there's the selfish ones. Unfortunately, this sounds like a case of poor planning on you and your husband's part regarding seating, and having already known your husband frequently uses the bathroom. For your international flights, choose seats together, and next to a restroom. Also, talk to him about drinking less a bit before and during the flight. Just ask him to take the toddler with him if you are feeding the baby. All he had to do was take the toddler with him. It's not that hard. I have done it on planes many times. Hand in both kids. Take 20 minutes to yourself elsewhere. Do this every time he abandons you for a medical need. He refused to get handled, and let him know it will continue until he sees a doctor and gets treatment or develops an iota of courtesy. This is something I had to threaten my husband with early in our marriage, and turned out it saved his life.